Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Janet, for coming in as a guest. This is the Trusted Referral Network. We are a network, a national network of currently about 170 or so independent marketers, people in sales, advertising, and a whole range, 28 different categories of marketing, advertising, and sales. All service providers, mostly small, usually less than 20 people. If you're an agency owner, I think we have one guy who works for a larger corporation. And the idea is, none of us lives on an island, or none of us is an island, I guess. We may live on an island, but we aren't an island. And it's helpful to connect with other people and build the trust with those people so that you can collaborate with them, refer business to them, and they can refer business to you. And you could also learn from each other. We try to make this an opportunity for people to learn about how to improve their own businesses, and even we bring up issues that are that may not necessarily be business related. On that note, we are the Trusted Referral Network is now collaborating with a group called Serial Marketers, run by David Berkowitz, which if you're not a member of, it's probably worth becoming a member of. It's mostly a Slack channel or a Slack workspace, but it's very active. I think it's got over 2,000 people on it, and they're not all service providers. So people are asking for, does anybody know a XYZ? But we're doing this on starting February 16th. That's this coming a week from 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from today, 5 p.m. Eastern. And the first presenter is going to present on building a portfolio career, like many of us have, juggling 2 or 3 things that make up our entire career to battle ageism, since many of us are over 30 like me. And I don't know if anybody's faced ageism, but I tell people it's like the weather in Seattle. If you don't like it, just wait. If you haven't faced ageism, just wait.
Sometimes you don't even know.
It's possible you don't even know. Exactly.
What's the name of that group, Michael?
Serial Marketers. And I will. I did post in the email, in the weekly email, which goes out on the weekends typically. There is a link to the that particular webinar. It's going to be about it's going to be similar to this. It's going to be a half hour of it'll be a longer discussion around that topic, and then it'll be about a half hour of networking. And it should be a bigger group. I hope it's a bigger group.
What if you don't like cereal?
If you don't like cereal, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you have a registration link yet?
There is a registration link. I could pull it up, but it might take me a little bit of time. So yeah, it's on my it's in the newsletter. It comes out weekly. So take a look for that. If you didn't get it, let me know. I will, in the meantime, I'll look for it, but I don't want to cut into Henning's time. Henning, we sort of screwed Henning over last time. He had signed up for a presentation, a showcase, and somehow I missed it. So he signed up again. By the way, there are open slots. So if anybody wants to take 15 minutes in one of the next meetings to tell us more about what you do, then please sign up. Again, that is on my, it's on the website, I think, under events to sign up. It's in my newsletter, how to sign up. If you have a question about how to sign up, ping me. Happy to tell you. But I would love to, I'm going to give advanced sharing options so that Henning can share his screen if he wants to. And I will give him 15 minutes, of which you can divide it up however you'd like, but that's supposed to include, some Q&A. So if you want to have people interrupt, that's fine. If you want to wait till the end, whatever you want to do, Henning, time's yours now.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Yeah, I think it's best to just wait till the end. When I put this together, I thought about, am I preaching to the choir? Since almost all of us are working as independent contractors. But in past TRN meetings, I found that there were still questions around the concept of fractional sales leadership. So I'll take that as the topic. And it really starts with my own career. I spent the last 20 years in sales, leading sales teams, different companies, different sizes, and obviously learned a couple of things. And one of the things I learned is that titles are a dime a dozen, right? So one company calls that position a sales manager, and another one calls it a CRO. And essentially, it's the same function and the same responsibilities. And then you have anything in between, right? Director, VP, SVP of sales. And that's why I call it sales leadership. It's the person leading the sales efforts of a company that I'm referring to. Another learning or observation, if you will, is that every company faces the same challenges, and it's how to deliver growth. Growth comes through sales and marketing, and most founders, owners, or CEOs that I meet do not have a sales background. They lack the own personal experience of building and leading a sales team. And so as a result, they hire and fire sales reps more or less at random. They promote their best salesperson to manager, but without any leadership training. And when they hire their first VP of sales, they spend 6 months and $50,000 on executive recruiting. And statistics show that they let the person go after an average of 18 months. And on the other hand, there are seasoned sales leaders available. In the US, I estimate between 3,000 and 5,000 experienced executives that operate in the gig economy and that are available for assignments. And that's an incredible talent pool that today spends weeks, months in unbillable efforts to find those assignments. And so that's where, on both sides, businesses and sales leaders, there is an expensive, ineffective process. And that's the ideal space for a matchmaker. And so what I do in the realm of fractional sales leadership is not recruiting, it's matchmaking. It's not for full-time hires, but since I'm part of TRN, it's easy to guess, it's for a fractional or interim contract. And the reasons why are pretty straightforward. The executives are pre-vetted, and so they're almost immediately available. They bring the right expertise to the table, and they come from a talent pool that is often unavailable to a founder or CEO. Of course, they work part-time or are available for part-time work. And a small business wouldn't consider hiring a full-time CFO or a full-time legal counsel or a full-time CMO. They contract those resources, and the same applies in sales. And I spent a lot of years as a VP of sales and ran a sales team of 2-3 people, and I spent maybe 20% of my time on the strategic leadership, and the rest of the time I was a glorified and overpaid sales rep. So the concept of fractional obviously is only pay for what you need. And like fractional CMOs, once the business grows and requires a full-time person, that executive can convert to a full-time role. Between all the assignments that we make into startup companies, we can distinguish 3 distinct scenarios, and each has a unique value proposition. We do place executives into pre-revenue or very early revenue startups. And here the role of a sales leader is often focused around building a sales playbook, defining and proving out a process, creating a vision for how the sales team is going to grow and to hire first team members. And we also place into companies that have a small founder-led sales team. And here the founder often comes to a point where he or she realizes that they need to focus on other areas. They want to focus on other areas. And the sales team needs a professional leader. In the third scenario are companies that are stuck, that have plateaued maybe at $1 million of revenue or $5 million. And now they come to realize that what got them to that plateau is not what's going to get them to the next level. And so they need to skill up. Of course, not everybody I speak with is bought into the idea. And here are a couple of common objections. And maybe because we're all independent service providers, those objections are similar to what you're hearing. And the first one is the question of control. When you work as an independent, when you work with an independent contractor as a business owner, you do relinquish control over the how and the when and the where this work is performed. And of course, the counterpoint is when work is about outcome and results, controlling the how and when is control for the sake of control. Another objection is around confidentiality. And just recently, I had a founder who shared with me that certain positions, like her VP of sales, need to be W-2 employees because they get confidential business information. Since, again, we're all independent contractors and service providers, we pride ourselves in the fact that we keep information confidential, that we don't work for two competitors, that we don't cross that line. And purely from a legal perspective, the terms and conditions around confidentiality in a employment contract or an NDA are very similar to those in a 1099 service contract. Another objection is around multitasking. When in the startup world, it's almost a badge of honor to talk about the fact how many hats you wear and how many different things you do. But then I find that founders also often have a somewhat distorted view about their abilities. Just because they made the first couple of sales doesn't mean that they're really good at running a sales team. And lastly, sometimes I run into companies that are just not ready because they don't look at sales as an investment. They think of it as something that pays for itself from day one. So these objections are some that I run into, and I'll be curious to hear at the end if those are the same that you're hearing. Let me just wrap it up quickly by talking about the opportunity here. In the course of a year in the US, about 35,000 sales leadership positions become vacant. And almost a third of those are with startup businesses, and that's where that fractional sales leadership model really applies and plays out its strength. And as we all know, the trend towards the gig economy has just been accelerated during the pandemic. And so those numbers are going to increase. And from a competitive perspective, I'm often asked, who is your competitor? And I find that my biggest competitive threat comes from ignorance. It's not a company. I'm not after assignments that somebody else does, but rather I'm after founders, owners, and CEOs that don't know or don't embrace the fractional or interim sales leadership model. And that's where, for me, the opportunity lies. I think I've used up about 10 minutes, so let's do some Q&A.
I dropped a question in the.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Are you only dealing with leaders, or are you dealing with salespeople as well? If somebody would want to hire a salesperson with you for part-time, for like 20 hours a week instead of 40. Do you work with that, or do you have to have a team that these people are overseeing and creating structure for a team?
So sales leadership doesn't necessarily mean a team, especially in those pre-revenue situations. It's about laying the foundation and potentially then building a team. If a company is looking if a company has a list of targets to call, a list of phone numbers, and is merely looking for somebody dialing for dollars, that's not what I do. That's not an area that I cover. But if there is a strategic element, if it's even if it's a individual contributor executing an enterprise sales process where it takes 12 or 18 months to close a deal, where it requires multiple.
Yeah, I think we need a conversation. I might have somebody for you to talk to.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Lise, you have your hand raised, at least virtually, but I don't see your video. Go ahead. Is your audio on? You're on mute. Maybe not. Nope, she's gone. Keith Reynolds, there he is. He's got his hand raised. Go ahead, Keith.
Thank you. Really interesting, Henning. I appreciate kind of scoping that out. You clarified things that I generally knew and really put some specificity to it. So thanks.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, especially at the earlier stage of a company, it's not so much of an investment, but a management of cash flow. Do you find there's various models that help either through equity or highly leveraged sales plans where a leader may not, need to capture all a retainer? Are there alternative ways to finance it, like buying a car?
Well, I'm definitely work with contracts that include a commission or bonus element, or that include an equity element. The question, like for full-time hires, though, is always one of, where is the company? And when it is a pre-revenue situation, the product hasn't really been monetized, it is tough to say, hey, I'm going to pay you on commission, or a large part of your pay is commission, when really you come in to do foundational work, and the whole product and sales process is unproven. Also, when it's a long sales cycle, if it is that enterprise sales situation, 12, 18-month sales cycle, you can't really expect someone to step into that and wait 12 months for the vague opportunity that maybe there is a payout down the road. And so that's where I talk to business owners and say, it's an investment. I mean, you give equity to your programmers because you want them to stick around, and maybe their pay is a little below market, but you can't get a programmer to say, well, I'll work for you full-time for a year or two until you have some cash flow to pay me. That's just not happening. And the same applies in sales. It's an investment, and you have to have budget. And I'm sure a fractional CMO won't go to work just on the vague chance of some sales down the road. There is
and I wasn't expecting it to be 100%, and which you confirmed, but you have levers.
Yes, I do.
Larry, last question.
Hey, I'm looking forward to catching up with you after the meeting, or in the near future. Are you familiar with the International Entrepreneurs Organization, also known as EO?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you and I should talk about that. EO is an organization, international organization, very big in the United States, where an entrepreneur has to have at least revenues of $1 million. Some of them are larger in order to join, but that would be, I was looking at your competitive grouping there, and this would be the type of target I think would be of interest to you to talk to.
Yeah, very good hunting for us.
So
Yeah,
would
this-
Vistage.
Right, Vistage as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and speaking, I don't know if they have, if EO has speaking opportunities or whatnot, but there are organizations, I'm sure organizations like EO that are targeted at entrepreneurs or smaller growth companies that where you might have an opportunity to speak to a larger group.
Yeah,
So
I was
what's your-
I was a
what's your
13-year
sweet
member of
spot?
the Philadelphia chapter, so I know it well.
Of EO, okay.
Yeah, EO, correct.
Henning, if I missed it, what's your sweet spot? Like the ideal CEO that you connect with?
A startup founder, tech background, who runs a business anywhere between pre-revenue and 5 sales reps.
Now, do you only, two things, do you have a sweet spot? Do you only do tech or do you do other industries? And are you only in the US? Would you work in Canada as well?
I'm only in the US, but I cover all industries, go beyond tech. Now, tech is a cluster because there's just a lot of opportunity, but I have executives from all around the different verticals.
All right, cool. Thank you. That
Thank you.
showcase time is up. Henning, that was great. I think people got a very good sense of what you do and where you focus and the value you bring to smaller companies. Let's go around the horn. We have about a half hour left. Why don't we give it 3 minutes? I just put in the chat the order in which people showed up, and so we'll do it. That is the order in which they will present, although Liz looks like she's dropped off. So David, then Rochelle, then Stephen, and we'll continue from there. So David Libby, you're up. If everybody else would go on mute, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Michael. Hey, thanks, Henning, for that presentation. It was really informative. I learned a lot. That was really cool. Appreciated the background on the sales just ecosystem. That was really interesting. And Henning and I just had a conversation privately, I think last week, and got to know one another. So I think, I got my questions answered, and hopefully we'll be able to pass business to you. I'm David Libby. I run 2 Pins. We accelerate startups to their exits. We use marketing vehicles like public relations, social media marketing, and content to align those marketing vehicles with the company's business objectives, so we can help them get quicker to their IPO or their acquisition. And we primarily work with B2B tech startups, like in artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing. Had a lot of good success stories, a lot of fun, a lot of good people, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I had something on my mind, but it slipped my mind when you were talking about accelerating start. Oh, do you have any, do you know anybody in the PR space who specializes in the sports world? I
didn't hear the last thing you said. And it
specializes in the sports industry.
No, but I can help you find someone.
Okay, great. Yeah, there was a request on Mosaic, which is another networking group that I belong to, and wherever I can, I try to help people out with requests like that, especially if I can help one of the members of the Trusted Referral Network. I don't think anybody in the network does PR in sports, but
I don't think so, but I can introduce you to a friend of a friend. That
Okay.
could be a resource for you. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, thank you so much. Any questions for David, since we have like a minute left on his time? Okay, let's move on. Lise is gone. Rochelle, you're up.
Okay, it's Rochelle from Dynamic Business Growth, and I always say that it's dynamic business growth and not schlep along business growth. And I find the companies have a terrible time speaking about your business. I mean, they just torture. They don't know how to tell a compelling story. So they'll start out and say, my name is John Smith. I'm doing this for 35 years. I'm located in Midtown Manhattan, and my concern is I couldn't care less. I always say, I want to know, how did you pull a rabbit out of a hat? What was something that you did that was extraordinary, that based on that, I'm going to recognize who you are and what your level of expertise. And I always say that when you do talk about your business, are you storytelling or boring telling? I want to know that story that will highlight your high level thinking so that either I'll know the direct client that would be a perfect fit, or the perfect client can say, they'll raise their hand and say, come, I'm going to come after you. I need you. I'm going to Velcro myself to your ankle. Please, please talk to me. So I think speaking about your businesses are very important, and that's what I'm doing a lot of work in right now. I prepare people to do pitch decks. I write pitch decks, but the other thing is once you have a pitch deck, you need to be able to speak into it with enthusiasm and a pulse and not look like somebody's going to give you CPR because you're long-winded, boring, and, too much information. So one of the problems I solve is people putting a size 10 foot of information in a size 6 shoe, where the listener is just going home with like blisters. I can't listen to another word. And there were times that a very good friend of mine gave a presentation and asked, Rochelle, what did you think? And I said, if I had the ability, I'd give you a fine. You made me sit through this. It was painful. You deserved a summons. To make me get up that early to listen to that and commute to listen to that, I just thought it was very painful. So I really believe that if I feel that way, I'm sure that so many others. So really creating that dynamic story so that you're memorable. I want people to go from unclear to unforgettable. So that's me.
Okay, thank you. I do put myself on mute, and I could imagine that size 10 foot going into a size 6 shoe.
Sorry, I have to do this, but unforgettable. That's my
Unforgettable.
That's what we all want to be. We want to be unforgettable. Absolutely.
That's right. That's right. And my experience is you tell a good story, how you pull that rabbit out of a hat, as Rochelle often says, for a client, people remember that. Actually, there was something about, I was listening on NPR. I'll mention this because it was how Putin rose to power. He was the deputy mayor to the mayor of St. Petersburg. And this guy ended up being corrupt, and he wasn't corrupt. He said something that Yeltsin didn't like. So Yeltsin tried to trash him.
But they're corrupt too. They're all corrupt. But go ahead.
He was probably corrupt too. But anyway, somehow Putin got this ex-mayor out of the country against all odds, to Paris. And I think it was Yeltsin who brought him in because he figured I may need this guy someday to get me out of the country.
Well, don't forget his KGB background.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he was hired, by this guy by the
people remember great stories.
Yeah, that was the story. He got, against all odds, he got this corrupt mayor out of the country, and I may need somebody like that soon. Okay, so not Yeltsin. Let's see, Rochelle. Stephen Redford, you're up.
Yeah, you want me to follow that? Rochelle's gonna mute me in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, because I'll have to work on that, Rochelle. But now you know how I feel when I look at some of your websites. Like, come on, guys. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. But I do want to say to Henning, just to start out, I'm in web design and SEO. Half of my business is web design, the other half is SEO. And in terms of your presentation, I was very impressed with the visuals, how well branded it is, because I looked at your website. The orange and the green is great. It's very consistent. I can tell your website is the same as your presentation, and obviously the ship in the background is everywhere. So it was easy to watch. It was very clear what you were saying based on the visual part. So I got a lot out of that part of it. But like I said, we design websites and do SEO after the site is completed, obviously. I would say most of our clients are professional services. attorneys, financial people, CPAs, some tech, and it's all the small guy. It's all you. It's the freelancer. It's the legal agency, law firm that's one or two people. It's a little more affordable. We use Squarespace for everybody. It's beautiful. It's connected to Google. It's very well optimized in terms of SEO. And then we do SEO. I do local SEO and also traditional SEO, on page, off page. And then we also have a branding. The same guy that does the website does branding. He does logos, business cards, anything that you would need in-house for collateral. Our latest client was a great new client for us because it's growing, is the Atlantic World Art Fair, which is based in Bermuda. And they represent probably 10 or 15 more galleries all over the Caribbean. And we just finished a big project for them. We're going to be partnering with them to be their digital marketing agency of choice. And now some of the galleries are contacting us. So it's opening up a new, it's funny, I started out as an art consultant, social media person, and left because I wasn't making any money. So it's funny that it's circling back to something I always wanted to do, is to work with a gallery. So anyway, now we've got the galleries calling us, and I'm hoping it's another avenue that we can start working here in New York. There's a few galleries here in New York, so I might start reaching out to them. And that's it. Rochelle, I told a story, right?
Great story. And we met, some of us met your business partner.
Oh yeah.
Hobson, right?
Hobson.
Right.
He'll be my substitute. He's the designer.
He's the designer, right?
Yeah.
Hobson, spelled with an R.
It's Portuguese.
It's Portuguese. Yeah.
So they pronounce R's are like H. Like they don't say Rio de Janeiro. They say Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah.
Now I know. All right. Thank you. Keith Reynolds, you are up.
Thank you very much. What a great group today. And a great presentation again, Henning. I'd love to catch up with you. So my background, I guess you'd consider as a CMO. I worked for IBM for 7 years and learned to drive people using a variety of promotional techniques into a college bookstore to spend $3,000 on a computer in 1987 and 88. So nobody used a computer. So we had to educate people, we had to attract their attention, get them into the college bookstore, teach them why a computer would be helpful, and then offer them one for $3,000. And out of that, I learned demand generation and how to drive traffic. And about 6 years later, I got involved in 1994. I wrote my first website and realized that a website was the same thing as a college bookstore. And I've written and produced over 100 websites, and I've been the CMO of smaller companies. I've also been in sales for Apple over that career. And about 2010, I worked for a company that ran out of money. The financial debacle happened, and we had no more marketing budget. So my traveling around the country, attending conventions and doing lead generation that way dried up. And I started a blog. And we were in the Homeland Security space. And after about 9 months of blogging, I was asked to testify to Congress, which led us to the testimony event, which then introduced us to somebody at the National Nuclear Security Agency, which then got us out to Sandia National Laboratory, where they bought one of our units and evaluated it. And I was reading HubSpot at the time, and I've been a devotee of inbound marketing and using media to drive people to your content hub. And I realized nobody wants to go to a sales website. You need to have really helpful information. And if you do, sort of the pre-sales kinds of conversation that you'd have from your website and you personalize it, you can do really well. So last 6 months, I've built an example at Publio. And I am trying to now offer, this has all been invented here in the pandemic, a done for you content strategy, where we do research and then we produce the content. We have a methodology for that. And I've also started training and workshops for more of the in-house model, where you really want to build that in-house, or you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, where we'll guide you, but you do the research. And the research and the SEO and all of that stuff is complex, and it can be expensive. So if you can do it in-house, you save a lot of money. And I don't care where it comes from. I just know that our methodology will help you get there. And so I've been writing books and creating examples, and I think now we're ready to like hit the ground running this year. And we've built a technology platform to deliver it on. That's what I'm doing. Thank you.
And I had a great conversation with Keith earlier this week, and he was telling me all about his workshops, which are great if you want to learn about HubSpot, a few other products. What were the other two? SEMrush.
SEMrush. We're doing business writing fundamentals. We're doing paid, earned, shared peso. What is it? Paid, earned, shared content owned. That's the one I do. And then we're also doing Canva, and we're looking for other topics to teach. We do it at lunch right now, just as a way to help people who are disrupted and trying to learn new skills.
And do you charge for it?
They're free right now. After talking to you, I think we're going to start charging.
All right. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, thank you very much, Michael.
My pleasure. And David had to leave. Larry, Joseph, then Janet.
Okay, I'm going to take you all lower tech now. Of all the advertising tools available to businesses, perhaps the least creatively used yet most impactful and desired by consumers are branded promotional products. Recent surveys show over 85% of customers prefer receiving a useful item with your logo than getting any other form of advertising. I'm Larry Joseph of Take All Products, and I navigate my clients through the incredible power of adding targeted promotional product programs to their marketing mix. That's me. How was that story? Was that a good story, Ms. Rochelle? Yay, okay.
So that was, all right, now tell us a real story.
Yeah, you were mentioning SEMrush. Is that the SEMrush you're talking about?
That is the SEMrush.
Yeah, well, they were a client of mine, but their marketing guy is a total a-hole, pardon my French. So I did one project with them, and then I kind of got ghosted, which is not fun. You know, they were going to a lot of trade shows, which I don't think they're doing anymore. So Keith, if you can help me there, very much appreciated. They're not too far down the road from where I am in Princeton, New Jersey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd love to get
I
back
thought they
in
were
touch.
up in Boston.
Well, maybe they moved up there. Maybe that's another reason why I'm not working with them
Maybe they have
anymore.
multiple locations.
But in case you haven't seen it, this is one of my self-promotional pieces here. It's a Rubik's Cube with let us help you solve your branding puzzle. Yeah, I like to bring a creative spin to the use of promotional products by doing programs. I do online stores for my clients. You know, I have an academic institution where all their branded merchandise is on a store that we created for them.
That's really great today, considering so many of us are working from home. And if you can create a great idea through a promotional product and have it delivered to somebody's house, let me tell you, you are going to stand out. You will be remembered forever.
No
But it's gotta be
question.
something pretty interesting and not like the common, if it's very, if it stands out, it can make a big difference.
Right.
I've heard some amazing stories of what people are doing online, and I love it.
Yeah.
Not
Is
only-
there anything that is that in the promotional world that is taking advantage of the fact that people are working from home, homework related stuff that's become popular?
The biggest issue is getting the home address of your target. So, I mean, you could be targeting a marketing executive at a company, and you could potentially send them something. Obviously, you could send something to their work address, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to try and get their home address to promote what you do to their home address. Now, I kind of have a program that I was doing all through 2019 that I pretty much had a table, because it's a 3-pronged program of sending targeted branded promotional products to their offices. And, I just haven't wanted to spend the money to, potentially lose those targeted items to an address that is not valid and there's no way to confirm it.
Right.
Quickly, the other thing I wanted to bring up is, and Michael and I have had to talk about this, non-fungible tokens. I have no interest in investing. I have no interest in creating a Bored Ape Yacht Club avatar. But what I am interested in is a lot of the creators of NFTs are using branded promotional products to send to their investors, what have you. So if any of you can help me in that area, I'd love to talk to you further about that.
That's pretty ironic, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's somewhat. For example, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, which is one of the most successful ones, they sent all their all the people who created avatars a T-shirt. So and with digital, with some of the digital technology, we can do a lot of more customizing specifically for that person. So
Interesting. Yeah. So it was a T-shirt of their icon, of their avatar.
no, it wasn't a T-shirt of their avatar. It was just a Bored Ape Yacht Club membership kind of T-shirt, from what I understand, from what I could see. But there are, the NBA is doing that also.
It wasn't a print on demand kind of thing.
No.
Michael,
Well, I
you
can do
might have
print
an insight on this one. There's a lot of people that are doing these online summits. They're doing 3-day summits or whatever, and they're charging for them. But a lot of these people are sending out gift boxes before the summits, and all these gift boxes have a lot of promotional items. So I don't know of anybody, but if anybody here knows of any of these marketing gurus that are holding these summits, that would be a great lead, because they're sending out at least 500-600 boxes, because they're getting at least 2,000 people onto these summits. And it's a huge marketing opportunity for everybody that participates.
Yeah, thanks. I know we're running out of time, but I did have a client who was doing virtual conventions, and I was providing all the items for them. But it's tough because you have to know who's going to be, who's definitely signed up, and the addresses. Anyway, I'm going to let Janet take over from here. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Larry. And Larry's based in the Princeton area. And Janet, you're up.
So Larry, we should talk, because I know of an NFT company that my son works at, and I've been doing virtual events, so I may know some virtual companies that would be helpful to you. So thank you, Rochelle, for the idea. So let's do a one-to-one to chat.
I know I've been getting these promotional items. That's the only reason I know about it, because I get a box with everything in it. Great.
And we do box tails, right? So people are doing box tails, where they send out a couple of craft drinks that people can make watching a bartender online for half an hour, and then networking online. So that's just one thing that we were doing, these online events. So thank you for inviting me, Michael. My name is Janet Granger. I am a digital marketing strategist, and I help business owners and marketing leaders to achieve amazing results, especially if they've been frustrated with their marketing and not seeing an ROI. And because I've been doing that for years, I actually also work with mentoring and coaching younger marketers. So I took the opportunity to, like many people, write a book, Okay Boomer, Revelations of a Baby Boomer Working with Millennials over the pandemic. And I took that one step further, and I've created a new platform that I'd like you all to check out called marketingcareermentor.com, where I'm providing online mentoring and coaching to early career marketers. And early career means from students age 18 to 24 to first job to later on in their careers up to about 32 years old. So I've been actually helping a lot of organizations with their own marketing teams, helping them hire people, helping them manage these teams. I am the millennial whisperer, and to understand how to work with marketing teams to maximize their happiness and their effectiveness within an organization. So I talk about this. Usually the Q&A after when I speak becomes a therapy session for everyone involved. So if you'll think of me, if there's anyone you know who says, God, I hate working with these millennials, blah, 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 I can help. And it all came from having been working with these marketing teams for the past, well, over 10 years, helping them to maximize their teamwork, which means teaching them basically EQ skills, in addition to and over and above the digital marketing that they were doing.
So there was
How old are the people that you're willing to mentor into, let's say, marketing career mentor?
Well, they self-select either as students, first career, or a few years into their career. I think if you're over the age of 32, you may not find the information there as enlightening or helpful, but I would say, 18 to 32 is the sweet spot.
That's great. 18, that's interesting. And I'm assuming these are online classes or whatever you're doing with them?
Everything's online. I do everything from, I answer frequently asked questions in videos. I have weekly office hours to answer questions one-to-one. There's online chat boards and places like what we call the hot zone for people to dish on what they're doing and what their marketing stack is. I have executive interviews, and so executives share their sometimes circuitous career paths, which is good for students and people early in their careers to understand. I've got a blog, Ask Janet Anything results. I've got LinkedIn hints. I've got Voice of the Recruiter. Pretty much anything an early career marketer would need to know.
Would you work with young kids on, let's say, working with them, like how they can set up like an online, how they can become like a, what's the word, like a 1099 while they're still in school, like how they can start an online marketing business on the side and you can work with them and mentor them?
I don't teach them how to start a business, but if they're over the age of 18, I give advice as to how to get your first job when you don't have experience. Things like putting together a portfolio, right, classes they should take, things that will apply for getting a marketing job later. Yes, I do that.
So do you consider yourself a career coach, or are you looking for marketing clients? I'm unclear about how I would introduce someone to you. Like, what will you be looking for?
I am an online mentor and coach for early career marketers. That's
Gotcha.
That's the succinct answer to that question.
Thank you.
So are you looking for somebody that's in a company and helping them take their career up a level within that company?
Yes. Yeah, so 60% of the content could be really for anybody in any industry, but the other 40% is definitely very marketing focused. So for example, you've been in marketing for 3 to 4 years and you really want to stay in marketing, but you don't even know what the corporate jobs are that you should be looking for. So what are the hidden corporate jobs, right? What their titles are, what those jobs involve, how you can find out, where to look for them, etc.
How to get beyond the marketing coordinator role.
Exactly.
I have another question. I have a personal question. My nephew is 23.
Mm-hmm.
Is that millennial, or what is that?
That's 23 is sort of on the borderline millennial Gen Z. Gen Z is around 23. Yeah. So
this is his second job in a marketing company. He works for a huge digital marketing company here in New York. I forgot the name of them. But he's pretty new. He's been there 2 months. He's in tears every day because he says he's overworked. Is he really overworked, or is this because he's young? I mean, like, are they being? I mean, I don't know. I believe him. He's a great kid, but it's like I felt like we all had to do that at one point, right? Like, I don't know whether to like feel sorry for him.
You could certainly introduce him to Janet. Maybe they could.
Yeah, I was going to say I can't. I don't know if he's overworked or not, but
he's happy. Yeah. He loves the people, but he says he's worked until 9 or 10 every night.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that's a lot.
Well, 9 or 10 every night is over and above, right? I mean, that's just insane.
Yeah.
However, if it's because A, he doesn't know how to do his work, B, he doesn't know how to organize his work, or, C, he's in meetings the rest of the day, that's a whole other thing. That's time management. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I'm gonna cut you off because I'm gonna do my little pitch.
I'm sorry.
We only have 4 minutes.
I have another meeting I got to get to. Sorry, I have to miss your pitch. Janet, I left my contact information in the messaging area. Thanks, everybody. Sorry, I have to leave.
No problem. Okay, yeah, we are almost at the top of the hour. I got 4 minutes left. So welcome everybody, and thank you for all coming. And Stephen is our new member, and Janet is a guest. So my business, Software Development Resources, I represent software development teams, and what that boils down to mostly is web, e-commerce, and mobile. So the teams that I have span those 3 areas, but within those, there's lots of different platforms. As Stephen knows, he focuses on Squarespace. You know, there's WordPress, which is very popular. There's Magento, which is a big e-commerce platform. Shopify, there are many others. And then there's also custom builds. I'll give you an example of how I'm helping a client right now, who I met through, I think it was Mosaic. She is a marketing consultant. She has a client who is a high-end furniture manufacturer. And she was looking for somebody to do 3D modeling. And I happen to have a team that does 3D modeling. So they will render virtual images of furniture. And the reason why this was valuable to them is because they sell things before they've actually built them. So, and they want to show a picture of it, but you can't show a picture of something you haven't built. So they would have it rendered. My team is a dual shore team, and they've got most of their rendering staff are in the Ukraine. So they can render a single view of a very high-end piece of furniture for $300. So, you know, it's a great deal, and they've been coming back for more and more and more. Next problem they had was with their website. Well, that rendering team doesn't do websites, but I have another team that does, you know, WordPress websites. So that team is now working with them as well. The client came back to me recently and says, and the marketing consultant to this agency or to this furniture manufacturer said, my client wants a configurator. So, which means they have a table that they sell that has 3 different styles of tops and 2 different types of finishes, bevel and non-bevel, different types, different sizes, and then they have bases that are 3 different metal bases that are different sizes. I want the client to be able to go online and see what any combination of those different dimensions will look like, so that they can basically customize their own. And that, you know, requires another level of skill with respect to graphics, animation, or I shouldn't say animation, integration of 3D models. So the 3D modeling team will be providing this to a team that specializes in web GL, which is graphics library, that can implement this on their site. So now I'm bringing in a third team that specializes in web GL. So those are the types of problems I solve, and I do it oftentimes in partnership with marketing agencies that don't have those types of resources in-house, or even if they have programmers in-house, they run out of resources or it's not the right skill set. Keith, you have a question? Oh, you're on mute. You're saying goodbye.
Oh.
Maybe you're saying goodbye. We're down to 6.
He had to say goodbye.
All right. All right. Listen, we are at the top of the hour. Really appreciate everybody joining. I did put the link to that webinar, which is going to be on February 16th, 5 p.m. in the chat. It's also in my newsletter. If you're not getting my newsletter, let me know, because I got to make sure that it is reaching people. I usually send it out Sunday. I start working on it over the weekend and get it out by Sunday. And it has sort of the logistics of the next meeting, who's presenting, if anybody, and anything else like this webinar, and links to that.
I don't think I'm getting it, Michael.
You didn't get it, huh?
I don't think I could be wrong. I'll look, but I don't think.
Check in your spam. I should have been. I've been sending it out to you since I think the past 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, then it's
So check your spam. Trustref.net is, which might mbended at trustref.net.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. This was terrific. Yay.
Great meeting. Thank you.
See you soon. Really, it was great to see everybody. Take care.
Bye.